The Phantom Author. The secluded writer's retreat stood on the edge of a misty forest, known only to those within the literary world as a haven for creative souls. Jasper, a seasoned literary detective, received a mysterious package one rainy afternoon with no return address, just a single name: Theodore. Theodore was a renowned author who vanished without a trace 5 years ago, leaving his fans and the literary world in stunned silence. Inside the package were several unpublished manuscripts, each bearing cryptic notes and strange symbols hidden between the lines of text. Clara, Theodore's most devoted fan, stumbled across an old interview where the author hinted at leaving secret messages in his future works. Clara reached out to Jasper after hearing about his reputation for solving mysteries involving the literary elite and their hidden lives. They agreed to meet at the Literary Archives, a dimly lit building filled with manuscripts and forgotten stories from the past. Jasper spread the pages across the table, studying the strange marks and wondering if they were more than just eccentric scribbles. Clara noticed that the symbols seemed to correspond to letters in Theodore's older works, but she couldn't decipher the pattern alone. Together, they spent hours piecing together the clues, realizing that Theodore had been sending out a cry for help in his unpublished writings. The trail of symbols led them to an isolated writer's retreat, where Theodore had spent his final months before vanishing from the public eye. The retreat had been abandoned for years, but dusty manuscripts and half-finished works still littered the shelves inside Theodore's old cabin. In the corner of the cabin, Jasper found a hidden compartment in a bookshelf, containing letters addressed to a woman named Lena. Clara read the letters aloud, revealing Theodore's growing fear of a stalker who had been following him for months before his disappearance. One letter mentioned that Lena was always lurking in the shadows, watching him from a distance, never letting him feel safe. Jasper and Clara realized that Theodore hadn't vanished willingly, he had been driven into hiding by this unseen threat. They returned to the Literary Archives, hoping to find any record of Lena and her connection to Theodore's life and work. Buried in an old newspaper article, they discovered that Lena had once been Theodore's assistant, but their relationship had soured over time. Clara wondered if Lena had grown obsessed with Theodore, unable to separate admiration from possession as his fame grew. Jasper suspected that Lena might have been involved in Theodore's disappearance, but they needed more evidence to confirm their theory. As they dug deeper, they found a final manuscript with a series of dates written in the margins, corresponding to Theodore's last known whereabouts. The dates led them to an old farmhouse on the outskirts of town, rumored to be a safe house used by writers looking to escape the public eye. The farmhouse was overgrown with ivy, the windows dark and silent, as though it had been untouched for years. Inside, they found stacks of letters written by Theodore to his family, apologizing for disappearing but claiming it was the only way to stay safe. Jasper recognized that Theodore had been staging his own disappearance all along, trying to escape the dangerous obsession of Lena. Clara was shocked, realizing that her favorite author had gone to such extreme lengths to protect himself from the world. They found a final clue in one of the letters, a key to an underground room where Theodore had been hiding all these years. The room was small, filled with unfinished manuscripts, paintings, and other remnants of a life once lived in the spotlight. Theodore, now unrecognizable with a graying beard and tired eyes, emerged from the shadows, his voice barely a whisper. He explained to Jasper and Clara how Lena's obsession had grown dangerous, leading him to fake his disappearance to escape her control. Theodore had been living in fear, unsure of when it would be safe to return to the world he once loved. Jasper assured him that it was finally over, and that Lena had no hold over him anymore. Clara promised to help him reconnect with his family, who had thought him dead for all these years. As they left the farmhouse, Theodore breathed deeply for the first time in years, feeling the weight of his self-imposed isolation lift. Jasper called the authorities, making sure they would investigate Lena's involvement in the case to bring her to justice. Clara handed Theodore the manuscript with the hidden clues, letting him see how his own words had led them to him. Theodore smiled, realizing that even in his absence, his words still held the power to bring people together. The police arrested Lena the next day, finding evidence of her stalking and threatening letters sent to Theodore's home years ago. With Lena behind bars, Theodore felt it was finally safe to step back into the public eye and reunite with his loved ones. Clara helped Theodore reconnect with his family, arranging a quiet meeting in a small cafe where they could finally embrace after years apart. The literary world was stunned by Theodore's return, and the news spread quickly that the phantom author was alive and well. Fans clamored for interviews, but Theodore preferred to keep a low profile, choosing to focus on finishing the works he had started. Jasper quietly retired from literary detective work, satisfied that he had solved his greatest mystery and restored a life once thought lost. Clara, now a published author herself, often thought about how the manuscripts had brought her into Theodore's world and changed her life. Theodore's new works were released posthumously, with Jasper and Clara ensuring that his legacy would live on long after his return. The farmhouse where Theodore had hidden for so long was turned into a writer's retreat, a sanctuary for those seeking solitude and creativity. The story of Theodore's disappearance became a legend in the literary world, inspiring countless writers to weave tales of their own. Lena was sentenced to prison, and though her obsession had caused so much pain, it was finally over for Theodore and his family. In the end, the truth had been uncovered, and Theodore was free to live his life without fear, his words once again lighting up the world.